Hey everyone, welcome to my first official video cast. I'm going to talk about the fact that it's a new year. Happy 2011 to all of you out there. And talk a little bit about what I've experienced over the last year, 2010. I live in New York, and for my website, The Fat Apple NYC, I talk a lot about fashion. I talk a lot about big technology. And of course, I talk about New York City, because that's the city that I live in. It's the city that I love. So the first thing that I want to get right down to business is about fashion. It's been a big year in fashion in New York and in general, especially in the plus-size community. We had our first ever plus-size fashion show that took place during New York City Fashion Week, and while it was not held in the tent, it was literally blocks away. And it was a part of my New York City Fashion Week experience, which I really enjoyed. The website onestopplus.com was the sponsor of the fashion show, and I think it was great. It raised some issues for me and other plus-size bloggers attending the show because we noticed that a lot of the models were not plus-size themselves. Plus-size, generally speaking, starts at a size 12 or 14, generally a 14. For example, in Bryant, the clothing starts at a 14. It extends anywhere up to a 24, 26, or a 28. Plus-size modeling and plus-size models starts at a size 8-10. So when you have size 10 models and size 12 models wearing size 14, 16, and 18 clothing, some of the clothes can look a little off. But generally speaking, I would like to say that the fact that the fashion show even happened was a really, really great step forward. And I look forward to more of those events happening in New York City and around the world. Also this year in fashion in New York City, New York City Fashion Week, or should I say Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week, this was the first year that it was no longer held in Bryant Park. It was actually held at Lincoln Center. And I think that it was really, really great. I didn't miss the tent at Bryant Park. I think that the structure that they erected at Lincoln Center was well thought out. The process of checking in was very much, it was less involved because it took a lot more technology, and people literally checked in with a code, got their ticket printed out, and was on their merry way. I really enjoyed that. There was less of a hassle. It was more of a relaxed atmosphere, I felt. And I saw some of what I thought were the best fashion shows that I've seen in a while. Ghoulie was one of the shows that I saw, and I really, really enjoyed her work because the prints that she used are so bright and vibrant. She uses a type of fabric called ICAT, which is I-K-A-T. And it's a really interesting process in how the fabric is made, how the printing is put on the fabric, and the way that she styled them were really, really great. Also at Lincoln Center, which I just recently learned about, is a show that's going on, or I should say exhibit that's going on at the New York Public Library's Performing Arts Library, which is also in the structure of Lincoln Center, but it's like far in the back corner, and unless you know about the Performing Arts Library, you really don't know about it at all. There's no signage or anything of that nature. I learned about it because I used to sing and still do, and the Performing Arts Library is a great place to get sheet music, to get CDs and movies, and I mean basically anything that has to do with music you can get at the Performing Arts Library. But they have a really great exhibit right now that's called On Stage and in Fashion. This is the pamphlet for the exhibit that they have going on right now, and actually it's only going on until the end of January, so I would suggest that if you do have time, please go and check it out. It's free because it's at the New York Public Library. The exhibit is free. And they have some really great clothing in there. I mean, I really, really enjoy seeing old style fashions on exhibit this year, or should I say 2010, which now we're in 2011, it's no longer this year. But in 2010, there were some really great fashion exhibits at the Brooklyn Museum of Art, which is in Brooklyn, obviously, and at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Um, they really put together an awesome compilation of outfits from different time periods, and they were really good. Um, there was a really good combination of styles, and they covered a lot of the time frame, which I think is good. I mean, some went all the way back to the 1800s, 1920s, all the way up to the current day. So it spans a lot of time. There's even actually some of the clothing from Gone with the Wind. There's this really great hat that the main character, Catherine O'Hara, wore, which was a hat that had this really awesome um, chicken's claw literally on the side of her hat, but the chicken's claw was dipped in gold, and so it became a brooch for the hat. And so when you really think about small things like that, it's really awesome to see the intricate details that can go into putting together fashion and putting together an outfit and putting together, such a small detail, in which I'm sure was a really huge production of Gone with the Wind. But that really spoke to me, because you can really tell how much detail went into that film just in the clothing alone. So moving on from fashion to technology, 2010 had some really awesome new technological advancements. I'm going to start talking about Apple. Of course, everyone probably knows about Apple. They released their iPhone 4, which had a lot of controversy around AntennaGate. Basically, holding your phone a certain way would drop your phone calls, which totally defeats the purpose of having a phone. If your phone calls are going to drop, then you can't make phone calls. But the phone itself is a really awesome concept. It has a front-facing camera so that you can make video calls on your handheld device, which is pretty amazing. It's the first iPhone iteration that has a flash. The other thing about the iPhone 4 is that it has glass. It's made of glass, so the front and the back is made of glass, which can be problematic, actually, if you end up breaking your phone. But it's a really awesome thought process that went behind the design of the phone. And what led to the antenna gate is the fact that the phone's antenna is actually around the outside of the phone. It's not inserted into the back of the phone like most antennas are. There was also the creation of the iPad, which when it came out and everyone finally knew what the name of the tablet was, there was lots of jokes made about iPad. Why was it called a pad? Were there any women involved? Because, pad usually means something else, not just a writing pad. But literally, that was a big hoopla. But now that it's been months after the launch of the iPad, I don't hear anyone talking about that anymore. People are just really talking about how awesome the iPad is and talking about how much they want one. I kind of want one too, but we won't get into that. I also attended Internet Week, which was my first Internet Week. I want to say that it was the first Internet Week in New York, but I should probably research that before I say that. But it's the first time I've attended one, and it was really great. There were lots of talks that went on at the main building, or the headquarters, the Internet Week headquarters, which was at Metropolitan Pavilion. I got to meet a bunch of really amazing people. I saw a bunch of really great technology. Especially one thing that I think it was pretty simple, but when you really think about it, it makes a lot of sense and is something that can come in really handy, is HP created a new printer, which basically is wireless. And not only is it wireless, meaning that you can your computer can talk to the printer over your wireless network, but it's wireless in the fact that each printer has its own email address. So if you are off-site and you need to send an email to someone, or you need to send a contract to someone to be signed, you can literally get the email address of the printer that is near the person that you need to send this information to, and send the Word document, let's just say, from your email address, from your computer, wherever you happen to be, even if you are in Dubai or London or France or Brooklyn and the person is in Manhattan, send it to that email address and it'll automatically print. And I think that's really great, because there's so many times you need to send something to someone that they need to look at or read, whether it be a contract or a proposal. And instead of just sending an email, sometimes I find it really hard to read certain long documents on my netbook. So it would be great to just have someone send it to me, know that I have to read it, have them send it to my printer, and it'll just print out. And that, I think it's a lot easier to read on paper still. I guess I'm old school or old fashioned in that way, but I think reading on paper is a lot easier, or at least it is for me. Also in technology, toward the end of the year was a whole controversy with Wikileaks. And basically, Wikileaks and one of its creators, Julian Assange, were given a bunch of documents, secret documents that from our government, that were basically put on the internet for people, regular general citizens and or non-citizens, and people who have access to the internet in general to access. And there are pros and cons. Obviously, people think that it's positive to have regular everyday people have access to this information just for their own knowledge, and also to shine the light on things that happen within the government. Since the government is supposed to be protecting us, it's important to have that information and know what they're doing technically in our name. People within the government see it differently. They say that covert operations are covert for a reason, so there are certain things that we don't need to know and shouldn't be made public knowledge. I don't really have an opinion either way. I think both camps are right in their own way, and that's just what it is. I mean, if it wasn't WikiLeaks, it'll probably be something else. So, bullied to WikiLeaks and Julian Assange for being out in the open and kind of taking the brunt of all the negative information, all the negativity that's coming toward them. But I don't really have an opinion either way. I think, yes, it's important to have information and have it be accessible. But I mean, some information in some documents are already available for people but they have to file this letter and say why they want it and for what purpose, and then mail the letter off and wait for a response, wait for it to be approved or not. So that's obviously a larger process, but that kind of already exists in our government. But those are some highlights from technology and from fashion. And I'm Melissa from the Fat Apple NYC, and I'm looking forward to 2011 being a really amazing year and finding more things that I want to talk to you guys about. I'm going to start doing videos, hopefully once a week, along with my posts that I write about events and fashion and important things that go on in New York City on my site, thefatAppleNYC.com. But this is the first one, so hopefully you enjoy it. Let me know if there's anything that you would like me to talk about or speak on, and I will gladly do it as long as I have time. Okay, so signing off.